Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. So last time, I don't even know what table I played. I remember not particularly liking it. Oh yeah, it was Dr. Dude. Um, I didn't really like it, but I got all but two of the wizard goals done. So it was a fairly simple table, and it was a table I certainly could have kept on playing.
Come on
Today
in.
we're doing Funhouse, which Funhouse, on the other hand, is one of the most remembered and probably one of the best tables. I would say, hmm, Funhouse might be in the number one spot in my mind. You, for me, would have a hard struggle to define like Star Trek The Next Generation and Twilight Zone. And there is potentially room here for me to see some other table that I haven't ever seen. But I think Funhouse at the moment has to take the number one spot for being the best table ever. So let's hop into it quickly because I'm going to probably play this a lot. Funhouse came out in 1990, which also probably indicates this was the peak of pinball design. It was designed by the legendary Pat Lawler, which I really wish there was a better system here to um, like link Pat Lawler to his credentials. Uh, since this is a game with mouse control, it wouldn't be crazy to have this be clickable, or so it could expand, or a little plus here that would expand to list all his credits. It would also have made a decent amount of sense to have like an Amazon X-ray type feature where you could see everybody who worked on the table, although it often seems like only one person is credited for working on a table, or at the very least have a feature somewhere on the Pinball Arcade that talks about people. Um, you could certainly have a whole Wikipedia type linking to IMDb, which I assume all that information is public information, so you could pretty much just steal everything from the Internet Pinball Database, not IMDb, not the Internet Movie Database. Uh, but yeah, you could pretty much just steal all that information and copy it almost word for word and put it in a fancier presentation, and then there could be this whole history section. That would be a project you could easily give an intern to work on. Whereas now, if I want to see what Pat Lawler made, I can't even sort pinball tables by creators, which would be useful. I would have to go just look it up. Anyways, it is one of the most popular and iconic pinball table classics of all time, which arguably calling it a classic implies that there are modern pinball tables that it somehow compete with it, which is not really the case. In fact, if anything, I think you just drop the word classics in that sentence because there isn't this modern revival of pinball. Not really. There's a niche collector's fandom of pinball tables where you get maybe three new tables a year from maybe two or three small companies. Rudy is the star of this table. His talking animatronic head responds in real time to game events. This includes taunting the player and following the ball with his eyes. Rudy even gives each player nicknames such as Chucky, Spunky, Bucko, or Slick for the duration of the game. Interesting, it switches around. I didn't realize it did that. I knew it called you nicknames, which I guess means also if you're playing a four-player game, each person gets a different nickname, which is probably something nobody would have realized, or very few people. The player's primary goal is to advance the clock to midnight so that Rudy falls asleep. When Rudy snores, shooting the ball into his open mouth starts a three-ball multi-ball and the potential for a million plus scoring. 10,750 units of this table were produced. Yeah, almost everybody had Funhouse. Hmm. So, unfortunately, because it's one of these first season, first version of the software programs, there's not really a um, There's not a way to do table exploration, so we'll just have to look at the attract mode. I kind of recall the head being more tilted to the left, but I guess my memory is just a little bit faulty. This isn't the first table to have a animatronic skull. It may be the first table to have one in the playfield, though. There was a skeleton one that would in like Bone Busters that would move. So it's not completely a new idea. But what is a new idea is to have a custom molded plastic toy that would have been custom made on the table, playing and interacting with it. A mouth that goes up and down to act as a blocking, kind of like a drop down target with a sinkhole behind it. That's generally what the idea is. And see, this is a great example of a table that has one main gimmick and then works its way around that one main gimmick. There's a lot of voice files in this game compared to a lot of other tables where there's been very little voice files, so they probably put some more RAM in it. It's another table that is going for the long shots, so you can see there is a third flipper that will be used quite a lot to try and hit the mouth of the main character. It is kind of like carnival in theme, except for more focused around this main character, this creepy doll looking character, which this would have been about the time where the Chucky movies would have come out, or I think there was a Goosebumps book of series too that would have inspired this. The Goosebumps character looks very much like him. So maybe this was supposed to be a Goosebumps tie-in and it just didn't happen. So, but there's a far left lane that loops all the way around. And then to the right of that, there's another lane that loops to a gated alleyway where it can go between two ramps, one locking the ball, I think, and one lane leading to the left in lane. What this creates is a lot of shots are going to happen with the left flipper, particularly the top left flipper, and there will be not as many shots with the right flipper. And then to the right of that second lane is a third lane with a sinkhole that activates several events that will be a tight shot you'll want to get really good with. And then to the right of that is basically a center lane hole that I believe that loops back around to the left lane. And then you have the animatronic head, which you can, while he's talking, actually hit the ball into his mouth while his mouth is open for like half a second, and that will be a sneak-in bonus. If you miss the head, there's another loop with a trap door, so another gimmick that I believe that loops maybe back to the second lane from the left. And then there's a lighted area. What we're not seeing here is a lot of rooms for bumpers. So there's one bumper that I see. No, there's three bumpers, but they are behind that gated entrance area and off to their own side, which that's fine. Interestingly, the bumpers do seem to have the capability of draining to the alleyway back to the plunger. Or maybe that's a one-way gate and it will drain to the in lane, or maybe it drains to the out lane even. That would be crazy though, for the bumpers to potentially knock a ball all the way to the out lane. There is a ramp that will lock 3 balls. And yeah, this is the second or third table we've seen that has built around the idea of moving a clock towards midnight, which is which is different than just like increasing your ball score multiplier into bonus multiplier, or just increasing your score to the highest point ever. There is an interesting bit of sex sales in this table in the art on the slingshots. We have two girls who are holding their skirts down as wind is blowing it up, so I don't know if that indicates that they're falling or flying in the air from a trapeze or something. I suppose we can only just look at the flyer. Now, there is some weirdness, though, because, like, while this character is an antagonist, and I have said that you have to be extremely careful about a table antagonizing the player. I could see really young kids not liking Funhouse, and older adults who love Funhouse being surprised by that just because it antagonizes it. That there is also weirdness that in 1990 there isn't an inherent assumption that this guy is creepy. This marionette puppet looking character is creepy, and certainly marionette puppets in general just don't really exist. See, now when you look at that image, it does look like the head is tilted more at an angle. I wonder, that would be really weird if they emulated the table completely wrong. Suppose that could be the case for any tables. Pinball Arcade could very easily have accidentally changed things or messed things up. It could also be that there were maybe different revisions. So our main goals are complete skill shot, activate Funhouse Frenzy, activate the multi-ball, light an extra ball from the gangway, and score the Rudy gulp bonus. That's the sneak-in bonus that you hit when he's talking. Yeah. Yeah, the way it looks here in 3D looks way smaller than the way I feel like it looked before. But I don't know how you would have fit it onto the table any other way. Oddly. Well, hit the wrong button. We still have that as a problem too with Pinball Arcade. So yeah. Yeah, Rudy is supposed to be kind of a jerk, not per se a spooky character. Although, in all fairness, even the Goosebumps stories are really supposed to just be they're supposed to just be somewhat spooky, but not that incredibly spooky. So it's the bumpers, I believe, that move the clock forward.
I'm not happy with you now. You're making me very unhappy.
There's quite a lot of things you can hit on this table. Instead of just having side bumps, which we've seen in so many other tables in between areas. I'm going through all these different angles.
That's not funny.
None of them really feel like they're great angles.
I thought we were pals. You're making me very unhappy.
So it creates this interesting situation where he needs to
I'm not happy with you now.
he screams in pain when you hit him in the mouth when his mouth is closed. He needs to kind of constantly talk, and so the gimmick is the constant talking, the constant mouth movement, the constant eyes going back and forth, so it Doesn't look like it's just a weird puppet talking.
I thought we were pals.
And so this table had a double plunger, which is being controlled by the right stick. And I messed that up.
I'm not hungry.
Going up the center lane brought it from 1145 to 1130 to 1145. So there's a decreased
That's not funny.
there's a decreased number of places you can shoot
Hungry.
to actually move the clock up to midnight.
Getting late.
This is a table where you kind of need that center shot to be a little bit better.
You're
And
making me very unhappy.
if you don't, you're going to end up hitting that area over and over again. And while that will score for you, like anything would score for you, it's hardly going to
Funny.
get you the big score.
It's getting late.
You may notice that there's also a lot of times where
No.
he is silent as the ball goes upward. There's a million. And this is pretty much the first table we've seen that has had a ball saver feature even. The gangway trapdoor has been open for a long time, so if I could get that shot, I could get a free ball, extra ball. I realized that there are two in-lane lanes on the right, although I'm not sure if they really give too much difference in bonuses. Wow. That was very weird how it bounced itself back up. But nice, that is a really nice angle to potentially have the balls just go where it's supposed to go. This is a really, really easy table, and it kind of highlights what people really want in pinball tables. They want to accomplish things, so I guess he's calling me Biff this time. Right, so the skill shot here, particularly in Pinball Arcade, is going to be kind of a nightmare. Because you want to just... You want to get it in the middle. I hit the trapdoor and then I think you have to hit that shot twice in a row.
Way to go.
So yeah, there's nothing scary about him other than the fact that he just looks like the creepy dolls. And in all fairness, in 1990 and even in 2021, there's still a few puppeteers that will use that kind of puppet and that looks like that and try to give them different personalities other than creepy, but it doesn't really work greatly. And even if they do get somewhat away from creepy, they're usually always sarcastic. So this one puppet model has become kind of stereotyped.
Heads up.
The only shots on this table
Right back
that you want to get really good at are those top left flipper shots. It kind of feels like you could slightly have made it easier by having the bumpers be able to bounce the ball up into the gangway. But otherwise, this table is just great. So any amount of fiddling you might want to make with this probably isn't going to drastically improve the table over just maybe making it too easy or just irritating purist. This is not a table, if I owned, that I would feel like it would be acceptable to change. Where I could certainly see arguments for at least a center peg.
Stay away from the clock.
Playing this in a previous collection of FarSight Studio pinball games, there was a wizard goal getting one of the bonuses that requires hitting the lit thing on the left there with the second plunger, and I recall that took me a really long time and I shouldn't have wasted my time on it, but that was also at a point when I was specifically trying to get achievements for the Xbox 360, and so all the lights get dim when it hits midnight. Wow. That ball was moving very slow. For the standard goals, they seem to be fairly better designed here than later tables, because you're not wasting a lot of things. So while you're in multi-ball, he would scream and you would want to hit him in the mouth for the jackpot. It's telling me to aim for the secret sharp door, but I can't get a shot in that angle. So I got a free game just by keeping the ball in play. So you can kind of see how the angle on that trapdoor shot is fairly difficult. I suppose also Funhouse goes in a better direction than Carnival did, because Carnival had the creepy clown problem, and I imagine there was slightly less people that are truly terrified of that. Oh yeah, there's a sink-in bonus behind his head that if you hit it just weak enough, you'll end up there. And seems like there's no kickback, and it seems like it's practically impossible to drain through the right out lane. which that's fine. Seriously. These are the yellow flippers that are a little weak, although on this table not as weak as we've seen in other tables. So maybe at this point they finally started to turn up the juice on the motors. This is a table that definitely feels like it has enough to make you want to keep on playing, although its secondary goals kind of get forgotten pretty easily over its main goal of just getting multi-ball and shooting. See, like right now we're in a hot dog mode.
Let's play two. I feel like a million.
And so I just started a quick multi-ball. A lot of flashing lights, a lot of distracting art on the table. It feels thematically correct, being a funhouse theme, but there's something certainly to be said around how much is being focused on. Thematically moving the clock to midnight doesn't really make sense around the funhouse concept unless there was something special that a carnival was doing, like midnight rides. But yeah, I've never heard of anything that is kind of universal around that concept. I know on like Halloween, Universal Studios does some like midnight ride type events, spooky events, people showing up in Halloween costumes. And then there's a lot of Halloween only type spook houses, which that would be the thought, I suppose, is that if you were going to add a whole new level to this table or make a sequel to this, it would be called Spook House. And then you'd have to work hard to not make it too spooky. It really slows down the game. Like, I feel like the top left flipper is probably a little too high up on the table. And see, by getting that lit award, I think I lit extra ball. Just nice and all, but it doesn't mean I get an extra ball. If you look at the bottom, all the sections are already lit, so I've pretty much done everything. Hit that too weak. It's a real flip shot. You just gotta get really good at flipping the flippers, which maybe they built this table to play that way specifically because the pinball had become fairly focused around a lot of just random flipping shots and holding flipper shots, and they wanted to encourage new players to actually go for the skilled attempts. And more as I'm playing with an Xbox controller using the left and right triggers, the more I feel like the throw of those controllers is way off from what a pinball really should be, where the pinballs were always controlled by just single switch buttons, so as soon as you pressed them, they would work, except for in a few cases when the buttons were actually double switches, and if you pressed them harder or further down, you would actually get twice the power. I'm not sure anybody ever actually got to, I'm not sure anybody ever got to like full analog inputs. Got it? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to mostly keep the left flipper as accurate shots and the right flipper as just kind of random shots. That way, like, I can hit it and potentially hit it in the gangway without having to put my eyes at the top of the table. And I think there might be an argument that in real-world pinball, you might be able to have a little bit better peripheral vision than virtualized pinball. Or maybe I'm just getting old and can't keep my eyes on 3 balls going at the same time. So I've pretty much done everything. Done everything I think you can do on this table already, although clearly not in the right orders, because I've not gotten all the standard goals. I still think that there is a high chance of the wizard goals being fairly difficult and just the standard goals being fairly difficult for this table. They probably want you to play this table a lot more than some of the other tables that they have. You will have a better experience, certainly, in my opinion, playing this table versus other tables. There really is just no excuse for how bad I am with this left flipper. Like, particularly on the skill shot, because I'm launching the ball. I should know the exact speed it's coming, and I should be really ready for it. I'm glad I can really highlight just how having one shot locked in almost perfectly so you never miss that shot can just get you higher and higher scores, because that does definitely happen amongst pros, is that if they're willing to just play, if they're willing to just put the time in and hit the same shots over and over again, then you can get your score up. I'm at like 32 million, and I would have to assume that 32 million is at least fairly high for a table like this in the 1990s. It would be weird if 32 million doesn't even get you on the high score table. And this isn't a table that's particularly bad about giving you points that feel undeserved. I feel like the wind tunnel reward is also something that happens just at random, that the lights go up and down, and if you happen to land in probably the green or the red, you get some kind of reward.
Way to go, Biff.
So what we'll want to do is pay attention to see if he calls me Biff in the next game. So yeah, 35 million. Pretty decent game there. Didn't get you to the high score. Kind of the ideal situation you want to be in. So what is a skill shot? Scores points with skill shot for the plunger. When you launch the ball, adjust the power from the plunger so it stops at this point and does the sneak in. Okay. Rudy is a target you want to shoot very often. And I definitely have seen Funhouse tables where you hit the plastic mouth so often that... Interesting that the music just cut off like that. It actually broke it. So this is a table that I imagine has to be repaired fairly often. Crazy steps reward are collected by launching the ball from the left plunger into the lanes representing them. Adjust your power of the plunger to aim for the reward you want. Score 5,000 points, scores 5,000. Light extra ball does that. Whirlwind Frenzy. Can only be lit once per game. Funhouse Frenzy lights Frenzy. And opens the trapdoor. Shoot the ball in the trapdoor to start Funhouse Frenzy. Funhouse Frenzy lasts 20 seconds and automatically scores a Frenzy total worth 100,000 while the timer is active. Every time a target is hit, either adds 50 to 100,000 points to the total. Value is added to the end of the ball bonus, so it's not collected until you lose your current ball. When a game starts, only Funhouse Frenzy and Light Superdog bonus are lit. Light Superdog bonus timer on stairs is always lit. Light extra ball and score 5,000 have to be lit by completing the step targets that are here. Just these standing targets that those would have just been bumpers on other tables, and then that's kind of great that you get rewarded instead of just punished for missing a shot. Once Funhouse Frenzy is awarded, it has to be relit to collect again. Only get 100,000 that way. And then the gulp bonus, I guess I thought I had gotten that. Rudy makes a lot of comments of action during the game. Shooting the ball into his mouth while he's talking scores a gulp worth 250,000 points. Hitting Rudy will also relight the mystery mirror at the wind tunnel. Shooting the ball into Rudy's mouth once the clock has been advanced to midnight scores 1,000,000 points and activates multi-ball. Hitting Rudy during quick multi-ball scores was that 1,000,000? Yeah. Balls that land behind Rudy's head after a skill shot score are worth 75 points. Many points can be scored from the trapdoor. At the start of the game, shooting the ball through the trapdoor loop once opens the trapdoor for 7 seconds. Shooting the ball into the open trapdoor scores a trapdoor bonus worth 500,000. Once this is scored, the trapdoor increases to 750,000 and requires 2 shots to open the trapdoor again. Once it does that, it increases to 1,000,000 and requires 3 shots. Let's see. But if you don't get the trapdoor, then you'll probably mess up anyways. It'll just reset. Mirror mystery is an important feature on the table. It starts with each ball. Sorry if I'm not really reading this all the way through. Each hit of the jet bumpers will change the reward, which reward is flashing. Once a reward is collected, the mirror mystery can be relit by hitting Rudy, which will also, it can also be relit for completing the in-lane rollover there. Okay, so we know what that does. There are 6 mystery rewards: light extra ball, light million, jet bumpers at max. And see, those are smaller bumpers, but they are also taking up actual less physical space, so they don't look as imposing, I imagine, as a large bumper would, or some of the other kinds of bumpers we've seen. The super dogs are just standing targets. Open crazy steps. Opens the steps. And quick multi-ball is the green one. And that's the one you would want more than anything. Once you collect all 6 rewards from the mystery mirror, shooting the ball into the wind tunnel activates Super Frenzy, which lasts 20 seconds and automatically scores a frenzy total with 1,200,000 points. And then you can hit a bunch of things to add it. So there's basically 2 places where you can start a frenzy on this table. But there's seemingly no score multiplier. And there's seemingly no top lane rollovers. So you don't have everything we've seen in pinballs in one pinball table. Which, in all fairness, you kinda can't have everything. It is too much to have every single gimmick that has ever been thought of in one table. The table just gets confused.
I'm not happy with you now.
This is definitely a different kind of opposite design to something like Diner, where you have 6 characters who are kind of boring, just that you're trying to serve food to, versus 1 character who's interesting and just talks a lot more.
It's getting late.
I kind of feel like Rudy's hideout was added specifically because it's so easy for that long ramp to not make it all the way around. Of course, they could have adjusted the angle slightly, and then it would have had to have made it all the way around one way or the other.
That's not funny. Shoot again, Biff.
He's calling me Biff still. And I'm not really trying for the screenshot, the skill shot. I should. It's weird to have a launcher that goes on the outside of the slingshots, but the angle on that works so perfectly. I imagine most funhouses would have steps, because every funhouse that moves is probably built on a trailer, so you'd have to set that trailer down on the ground on some blocks or something, and then that would mean some steps going upward. Got the super dog lit, but actually hitting the super dog is actually fairly hard. There is a significant amount of this table that you cannot hit with the right flipper, and yet the ball gets put in the hands of the right flipper a little too often. Well, there went the quick multi-ball immediately. Oh wait, nope, it was ball saved. This does still feel like one of the tables where hitting both flippers probably reduces the amount of energy you would have. See, that can be just a factor of how much the power supply can really support on the table, or it could be intentional. So this is the Frenzy, but
This is really starting to annoy me.
there is probably some way to activate the gate on the left to save the ball on the left out lane, but I obviously haven't done it yet. And so that was a relatively bad game, and it still got 6 million. And yeah, the score creep is real, and I suppose in 1990 it couldn't have been a table that was really only giving you like 100,000. There's the skill shot.
No accident. Right back at ya. Way to go.
There's the trapdoor bonus. Although I don't think there was a standard goal around that.
You can have it back.
Yeah, getting the gulp bonus is a lot harder than it seems, because you basically have to either have multi-ball going so that the ball is in two places at once, or you have to be able to get really lucky. And you're not going to be able to, say, trap the ball with the top left flipper.
You're making me very unhappy.
And I'm glad that the table doesn't close that gate and potentially force you into out lane drain if you mess up the plunger shot. Which, in all fairness, I don't think there ever is an instance where a plunger shot should lead to a drain out. It should be midnight. Funhouse is closed. So the Funhouse theoretically closes at midnight. And he snores, but the snoring does not indicate that the mouth is closing or anything like that. So you still get 100% of the opportunity to pull off the right, so try and keep the ball in play and flip this. And going into the trapdoor doesn't seem to actually reveal any big surprise. I don't know what the big surprise would have been. Anyways, what secret is in the funhouse? Did they murder somebody and there's a dead body in there? Or probably not.
Shoot again, Biff.
Yeah, you may only give you a different nickname. I almost made that hit shot down into the trapdoor. We should start like a 2-player game and see what the names are for the 2 players. It would be crazy if it was the same multiplayer, same nickname in multiplayer games. But it is kind of a genius idea to give them nicknames when you have an antagonist character. Carnival Barker-like character. Instead of just saying player 1 select. Although, in all fairness, if a pinball company had just hired, say, a voice actor, voice actress to record the lines player 1's turn, player 2, player 3, they could have used that on several different tables, and that could have just been the standard Stern announcer lady, and you could save some money that way and establish a kind of standard sounding voice. So if you even heard a specific person's voice, if it was recognizable, then you would maybe be attracted to those kinds of tables. But they didn't go that route with any of the designs of any of the tables, so every table stands alone completely by itself, to the point where, unless you're a real pinball nerd, you're probably not even checking to see if this is a Stern or Williams or Bailey or Gottlieb table. And I'm not that big of a pinball nerd. I wouldn't be able to directly tell you if this is a Williams table or not. The only thing that indicates to me that it probably is a Williams table is the yellow flippers, which I think have a W on them, but I can't even see them. Seeing that. So yeah, if we were to go back, see. See, in the description here, it doesn't even tell you. Yeah, you have to go to the flyer just to figure out if it's a Williams table. I'm surprised I haven't activated Funhouse Frenzy yet, but yeah, that might be the limiting factor. Yeah, that kind of feels like that's what happened when I played this before, and the standard goals are probably the same. Is you probably have to activate Funhouse Frenzy from the steps, and until you can do that, you're just not going to be able to move on to the wizard goals. And when you get to the wizard goals, you may get 4 or 5 of them done in one good game. I don't know if it's the angle, but that top left flipper definitely feels like it is smaller than a regular flipper. Yeah, he's still calling me Biff. I feel like the Whirlwind Frenzy in particular should be ejecting the ball not to the left lane, but to the right lane, but to the left lane. Like, because you make that shot from the left lane, so it should be popping the ball up to the ramp and the in lane on the left side more than anything.
I thought we were pals. I'm not happy with you now.
Your highest chance of getting the gold bonus, I think, is when it is at 11:45 or midnight. Not midnight. Yeah, 11:45 I think is the probably most talkative he will be.
That's not funny. Stay away from the clock.
There's a gold bonus, and visually that did not animate correctly, in my opinion. And it did not look right at all.
That's not funny.
So our goal at the moment is to get the steps open and use these steps to unlock the frenzy, which means getting really good at hitting these steps lights, which that's fairly difficult to do, and getting an extra ball and potentially multi-ball is more interesting.
Stay away from the clock. Shoot again.
I imagine a lot of people probably didn't realize he had different nicknames. I don't think I realized that until just now with it telling you. Let's get multi-ball going, if we can, and then get up on the steps, if we can. Although, you know, maybe just getting good at shooting the ramp to the steps might be another factor to focus on. They could have made this slightly easier by having it be just hitting any of the areas 4 times light steps instead of hitting specific areas. Because I could see you being particularly bad at hitting the P or the S or the T and the E. Probably wouldn't be too bad. See, while that was successful in getting a standard goal, that wasn't really a super successful game. Or, you know, they could have it so that you go up the ramp and then either that unlocks the diverter for the steps for a few seconds. So if you could shoot that ramp a couple times. Although I don't know if you can shoot the ramp a couple times because that would require hitting at a tight angle. Yeah, I don't think I can with the left flipper get up the steps ramp. Well, the lower playfield here may have very little in it. The upper playfield is a little too busy. So there might be an argument for reducing or moving some things a little bit closer. Like if they had only 2 bumpers or even 1 bumper, that probably would have been fine. Although it's fairly boring to have a table with only 1 bumper, because then you basically have to have slingshots all around the bumper anyways, so that it can bump against something. You probably could have scaled down Rudy's head, but that would have been a bad decision.
You can have it back.
What I would probably say is get rid of the trapdoor shot and put that in the center of the table, in that center shot, since that center shot's not doing much anyways. In fact, you probably could merge the center shot, the well wooden bonus, and the trapdoor all into one ramp, and then you would have just like one ramp on the left, one ramp on the right, and that's it. Right. Wrong award. Didn't pull back far enough.
I'm not happy with you now.
So ideally, this shot should always go there.
You're making me very unhappy.
Hitting Rudy doesn't move the clock forward, where
I'm not happy with
I feel
you
like
now.
it probably should. I need to hit the P.
It's getting late. Stay away from the clock.
There is a chance of confusion, certainly, since it is talking about time. There is the chance that sometimes when it references time in the game, that it's talking about real world time versus the fictional game time. Come on.
The funhouse is closed. Hey. Big deal. Gangway. Ow.
So we need to hit the S. There, we got that. So we have an extra ball.
Shoot again, Biff.
So once again, we want to get this to go up there and open that ramp.
Ow. This is really starting to annoy me. Power on. You big sausage.
A lot of sound effects there. Come on. Hit it.
Let's play two. I feel like a million. Look out, Biff.
In quick multi-ball, I think we're just supposed to hit Rudy.
Gangway. Here it comes. Ow. I feel like a million.
So I need to hit this T, I think. Which I wasn't really moving towards moving the clock forward, but that will work for me too.
I'm not happy with you now.
Oh, he says I feel like a million, and that means hitting him is worth a million. That's funny. I didn't even get the gag there. I still don't know what opens the actual step though. Wow, and that's like the first time I've ever even drained out the right out lane that I can recall.
It's getting late. I'm not happy with you now.
Come on. Trapdoor was open.
I thought we were pals.
I've got the steps lit, but I don't know what I'm aiming for. And in Frenzy mode, it doesn't matter. It's kind of nice to have a Frenzy mode though, because that means you can just hit the ball wherever you're good at hitting him, and it just gives you more points. You're not really having to focus on anything else. Just keep the ball moving in a frenzy. So like hitting this shot makes a lot of sense in frenzy mode. It makes a lot of sense even outside of frenzy mode, frankly. Multiple extra balls are earnable on this table. And see, I've been going an hour long, and it feels like it's been 30 minutes. So it's just such a great table. Unfortunately, as a video game critic, it's kind of hard to criticize good content. It's way easier to criticize bad content. Like, I am trepidatious, to say the least, to suggest making any changes to this table because of its historic relevancy. But even if it wasn't historically relevant, I can't really make too many different changes. In 2021, you probably would have just more music, better quality music, better quality graphics, maybe a little bit more going on in general. You would try to add some more gimmicks, and that might be a mistake. A center peg and a kickback more often. The little programming things, ball saver, would make sense. I don't think even in 2021 a power creep becomes such a big issue that you need to increase the scores by anything. If anything, this table is perfectly fine earning 22 million on a good game.
Way to go.
Yep. Certainly I could just play this forever, and once I got all the wizard goals, I'd still probably play this game forever. If you don't like Funhouse, then your appreciation of pinball is very, very different from mine. So Funhouse Frenzy is the bottom one. Oh, so have I just never hit that? I guess I really haven't. And because we don't have a pro mode, you can't control the ball or anything. So let's start with a 2-player game, and this will be our last game. It is nice that potentially you can get the standard goals on the second player, and it would still count. I assume that's the case. That would really suck if it wasn't the case. But you are also missing some things, like Google Play and Apple would probably have you log into different user accounts. Xbox 360 would probably have the second player log into a different account to get different achievements. Steam, I don't think, has too much integration around that. I've never actually tried to do a local co-op game to see if you can log the second player into a different Steam account. That would be interesting, but it also would be only really there for achievements, and Steam does not care about achievements. Or playtime, and nobody cares about accurately representing your playtime. You want that number to be way smaller than it actually is. Although for me, I leave the games running, so I can say I have plenty of games that have hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of playtime according to Steam because I just left them running for a week. Of course, having a YouTube channel that also highlights how much I actually am playing it can pretty much show a truer equation there, since I almost never play video games without making footage. And I have about 9,222 videos on YouTube at the moment, and if you average all of those up to an hour, then ever since I started my channel about 5 to 7 years ago, now we want to know if he gives us a different nickname. Feels like he should mention your nickname as the first one. Bucko. Oh yeah, I suppose it's worth mentioning. He's saying Bucko. It sounds a lot like the F word. So he's not saying that, but that is something to point out. And so I could imagine maybe changing that sound file in a future, in a like update.
I feel like a million. I feel like a million.
Yeah, I'm running out of things to say. So the nicknames are also kind of old-fashioned nicknames, so you'd want to update that in 2021 if you're going to remake something like this. But it honestly, you really wouldn't change much. Replace everything with LEDs. That's a standard thing that happens on pinball tables, is people will convert them to LEDs instead of light bulbs, because it's not particularly easy to get replacement light bulbs. LEDs tend to be too bright, so there's maybe some caution you need to be careful to, if you're actually trying to emulate the way it looked originally with new technology. You could replace every LED with like a neopixel in modern design, and then that means different lighted lights, different colors of lights. which would probably help a lot of places. Like, instead of things having to be flashing and when you shoot them and then lit when you've collected them, you could also have them flashing one color and then flashing another color. Like, standing targets, drop down targets would make a lot of sense, particularly if they wanted you to hit the collection multiple times. So something might be all red LEDs the first time you hit it, and then all blue LEDs the second time you hit it. You could certainly make a theme around colorfulness and rainbow colors. A lot of electromechanical technology hasn't really improved. It's just been abandoned. So it's not like there's a whole lot of new things that were designed. We've improved like DVD spinners and motors and hard drive spinners, and that's kind of it. Then everything else is super custom and super rare and things people wouldn't have even seen. You could definitely just improve all the audio on every table with a Dolby Atmos headphone. Put like Bluetooth in the table so you can use headphone, wireless Bluetooth ear pods, and also have a headphone jack and get really nice 2.1 surround sound around it. Positional audio might be very interesting. Not that I would want pinball playing to turn into like silent raves or anything, but I could certainly see for collectors and people playing in their house being able to turn the music off just by plugging in a headphone is probably a lot easier than going into the operating settings and turn the music down. And I am still failing miserably to...
There's an extra ball.
Still failing miserably to actually get the Funhouse Frenzy. Maybe I've started the Funhouse Frenzy and didn't get enough score, or didn't get the jackpot in the Funhouse Frenzy. I don't think so. Yeah, you can easily program them to say "Hey Biff" as you're launching it, and then you would have, if the ball was ready to launch before he said shoot again, you would have a very short time in which you could launch the ball, get the ball around the ramp, and get a skill shot into his mouth, a gulp bonus into his mouth. I see he's saying extra ball, but I don't know where the extra ball goes. I guess it goes there, but I didn't see anything flashing there. Oddly.
I feel like a million. It's getting late. I thought we were pals. Stay away from the clock.
I'm still very, very bad as far as hitting that shot. I need to get way better at hitting that shot.
You're making me very unhappy.
Come on, open that ramp. Another extra ball.
With you now. Shoot again.
Not quite, right?
Gangway. I thought we were.
I'd say the gangway gimmick and joke probably doesn't make the most sense, since I don't know what a gangway really is, and so I imagine a lot of kids wouldn't know what a gangway is either. So yeah, we know that there's been a ramp that's been labeled the gangway. I assume a gangway is some kind of raised platform where people in the background of a funhouse or a theater would shoot this. It probably doesn't increase the cost of building a table to have two plungers that much. Although if you're trying to make a virtual pinball table, it is like $150 to get a plunger add-on. So like just that one thing is going to be very expensive. Also haptic feedback to make the table vibrate, and haptic input to be able to nudge it is probably going to run you up another $500. So you pretty much are going to pay nearly the price of one brand new table to make a virtual pinball table that is just only going to get you 70% of the way there as far as the feeling of an old table. But if you do have a virtual table, you have the ability to play multiple tables, whereas you can maybe have 4 or 5 pinball tables. If you're really rich, you could have your own private arcade that could have a collection of 100 tables, but most people are at best going to have one extra basement and nothing more, which is going to get you maybe 20 tables in the basement. Whereas a virtual pinball table would let you do hundreds more. Imagine what you would want to do is get something like your top 5 tables in reality, and then have a virtual table to let you play the lesser tables, the ones you're not as interested in. You might have a better argument around the thought of sneaking into the funhouse after midnight being your goal. That would make more sense, and that Buddy is just trying to drag you out of the place since they're closed. Instead of just putting him to sleep to then sneak around to go down the trap door. Because it does kind of feel like they're implying that he's the bad guy and he's got something to hide and he's the antagonist, when really you could put a different narrative here, or you could assume a different narrative here, that actually the player is just the bad guy who's sneaking around where they shouldn't be and potentially risking their lives going somewhere that would be dangerous. Like even the places you're supposed to go in a in a funhouse and carnival are fairly dangerous and not usually properly safely maintained. So going somewhere you're not supposed to go is basically a death wish. If you saw a trapdoor in a funhouse, it almost certainly is just going to lead to some kind of mechanical repair area. And it's just going to be electrics or plumbing or something like that.
Stay away from the clock. It's getting late.
So we got the Super Dog. On the Super Dog, I'm not sure if there's something I'm supposed to specifically hit or if I'm just supposed to hit any of those targets. But it really is impossible to hit them. Like, there's
Way to go.
just never a way to succeed there.
Come on in, buddy.
And we can see that after a two-player game, the game is...
You're up.
And now he's being called Chucky. And... like... it's glitched out, so... but the flippers aren't working either. Alright, so... that broke it out of that. So that's nice. Otherwise, we were going to have to end this whole episode on that sad note that Pinball Arcade is still fairly broken. There's still some things that probably should be changed. And neither of the buttons on the controllers are now going in the right direction. Like both A and B are being treated as B. Alright, well, I'm gonna put that on the favorite. Let's see, I'm playing on Sunday again, so for this week, how many people on a Sunday have played Funhouse? Well, I'm in the top 10 score of quite a lot of people. Like 75, 76 people have played Funhouse on a Sunday afternoon where, let's see where we are all time. And then my score, I'm at 13,000. It's not too bad. Weekly, I was at 10. Monthly, I'm at 129. That's not too bad. All-time scores overall. 5 billion seems a little high. 3 billion, 2 billion. Maybe a little bit high there, but not impossible scores to believe, frankly. If each one of these scores was legitimate and represented just one good game, getting 330 million when I got 33 million after one good game in less than an hour and 30 minutes, that's totally believable. Just 10 times better than me. I'm not that good of a pinball player. We do get once again thrown into this problem where Funhouse is great, but it was one of the first releases, like Rydo Pinbot, so no pro mode, where that would have been fairly nice to be able to actually control the ball, or at least have table exploration. They definitely should have come back and added more content to at least have table exploration for the tables that don't have pro mode. And then tomorrow, well, no, tomorrow for you, I guess, maybe. Next recording, we will play Phantom of the Opera, which is a table I haven't played, but I imagine has a decent chance of being good. Even if it was bad, Whirlwind is pretty good. Bride of Pinbats, pretty good. Cactus Jacks has a decent chance of being good. Class of 1812, I've never played that table. Although, in fairness, I haven't played Cactus Jacks either. So, while we may have had some mediocre first two, we also, for this first row of 8, seem to have a decent chance of some pretty good ones. And then on the second row, we might get some lesser quality ones. But having Terminator 2 and Addams Family in that mix means these two tables will be interesting even if they don't play that well. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.